Hi everyone, welcome back. Just a quick disclaimer before we start this video. I am not going to be explaining how InDesign works or how Excel works. I'm going to assume you have at least a basic understanding of both because for me, the magic of what I'm talking about today actually happens in how you format the Excel file. I will link a video down below from Marianne Mole that explains how she uses InDesign to create her inserts, so hopefully you'll be able to get some information from that. I will only be sharing the Excel file and I will link a copy of that below. The InDesign inserts, actually, the format of them, I feel is the property of the planner spot. I designed them after hers and they're almost an exact copy, so I wouldn't feel comfortable distributing those because I feel like I would prefer that if you like this format, you go and buy them from her Etsy shop, which is TPS Printables on Etsy. With that being said, let's hop into the video. So today I wanted to do a video about how I pulled the dates into InDesign to make my planner pages. I had several people request this video, and to be truthful, I looked online and I had to kind of mash this together myself because there was information on how to do a single page and have that extrapolate out and fill in different pages. So something like what I have on the screen now, where it's just a single page and it would just add additional pages every time. However, I wanted to do a week at a time, so it looked more like this. So we have a page that has the information about the week. Scroll this over so you can see it. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then an end page at the back of the week to attach a tip into. So I wanted to do a week at a time, and all of the tutorials that I could find readily had to do with taking a single page and replicating it over and over again. So really and truly, the setup of the pages in InDesign is not the hard part. The hard part was figuring out how to set up my Excel file to where it would do what I would want to do. A little bit about how I could figure this out quickly. I do have a master's in management information systems, and part of that included database design. So I focused on thinking of my Excel file as almost a database. And if you know anything about databases, it includes knowing how records iterate through. So the secret is in how the Excel database is set up. So let me show you the first one. So this is something that would not work. So having just date and day of the week, which is how I had the original files set up, would not work because it would take the information for a single row, put it through all of the pages, and then when you reach the next row, it would then start at the top of the pages again. So what I would end up with is 7 pages that all said October 1st, 2017, Sunday, which is not what I wanted. It would repeat all the information on the row across all of the pages that I had. And then when I hit the next row, it would basically start at the top of the pages and work its way down again. So what I needed to end up with is something that looked like this. So I wanted to have a week of, so it had the date ranges, a week number, and then the information for each day. We have the date for Monday, what holiday it is, if I wanted to include that. Tuesday, what day it is, the Tuesday holiday. Wednesday, what day it is, the Wednesday holiday, and so forth. Now going back to this page, I didn't need to tell it what day of the week because, to be honest with you, that's not going to change. I wanted the same day of the week to be on, the same place every single week. So that actually wasn't necessary. I could put that exactly on the planner page. What I needed was just the information that was going to change. So let's go back over to InDesign. So let me actually show you how to merge these together. So if you go under Window, come down to Utilities, and go to Data Merge, that's the information that we want. So I'm going to pull this over here. You'll first need to tell it what file. You'll need to select the data source, which I have actually already done. You don't have to worry about that. So I've already done Q4, so I'm going to data merge Q1. Generally, you can just put placeholders in. So I have this week number. So what I'm going to do is drag this there. So you can tell when you have the field inserted because it will have these brackets around it. So then we'll want week of. Actually, let me undo that. I don't necessarily want it to say week of, I just need it to have the dates. So week number 1, and then it'll say January 1st to January 7th. Now, if you want to see what it's going to look like, you can click on preview and you can see that it's filling in the correct information. This is the easier way of going about it than to have to continually merge it and figure out that you're getting the wrong information. So let's go down to the next day. And it actually already has the brackets in, but you basically can just click and drag, highlight what you want to replace. We want this to be the Monday holiday, so we'll click and drag it. So let's say I deleted that and I wanted to put Tuesday here. I just click and drag, drop it there, and that's basically how you build it every single time. Now, essentially, these are just text boxes. So you could put whatever text you wanted there, but you need something as a placeholder in order to have it have a place to go. Now, because these are text boxes, you can actually come in here and make it whatever font you want. So again, these don't have to look exactly like mine. I'm using Miss Magnolia for the day of the week and then the date, and then I'm using a Helvetica light font for the holiday because I don't feel like it needs to be as in your face, I guess is the way that I want to put that. It's just kind of as a side note. So again, I'll click on preview and you can see that, let me click save. So this will update hopefully because I took that day off. Let me actually remerge it. Every time you make a change, oops, actually let me click cancel. You can just hit update data source and that will update what it's pulling it from. And now what you can see is it actually changed how the dates are formatted. So let's go back over here to Excel and you can see that it is not formatting the dates how I want it to show. So keep in mind what's in Excel is exactly how these things are going to show up. So I'm clicking each of these. I think in Mac it's Command. I believe on a Windows machine it's Control. That allows you to select cells that aren't next to each other. So we're going to format cells and let's get these formatted properly. So we want to format the date so it actually has just the month, the date, comma, year. So we will change that. For whatever reason it didn't do this one, so let's try that again. There we go. All right, so let's save this. Now, before I actually go any further, a couple of important things. So usually they tell you to save it as a comma delineated file. Because we have commas in the dates, you don't want to save it as a comma delineated file. So you want to do save as, you want to save it as tab delimited. Okay, I'm probably pronouncing this wrong. So you want to save it as a text file with tabs in between and not with commas in between because that will completely mess everything up. So just keep in mind that you're not going to be able to link directly to an Excel file. You're going to want it to be a tab delimited text file. All right, so let's come back over to InDesign. Let's update the data source again. Click on preview, and now you can see they're formatted properly. So just remember whatever is in your Excel files is directly how it's going to show up here. So I really want to take a few minutes to talk about this Excel file a little more specifically. So because the Excel file is definitely the key to how this works. Again, you'll remember that I mentioned that each week it'll run through all the information on a row, and that's the information that we'll put and repeat across all the pages. And then when you hit the next row, that's when InDesign will basically start over again at page 1 and run all the way through. So it actually doesn't matter how many columns across you have. It's just making sure that you have all the information you want in each set of pages. Every time it goes through from the first page to the last page, you want all of that to be in one row. So as you can see, I just copied and pasted this, and things like Christmas and a few other things were left over from when I had Q4 in here. So you can actually add columns. So if you know maybe on certain days of the week you have a specific meeting and you want to repeat that every single time, you can actually add that in there. So just for argument's sake, I'm going to insert a column. And I'm going to put Tuesday meetings. So I know on all Tuesdays, I have one-on-ones. So that's where I meet with all of the people that directly report to me. So I'm going to copy and paste that here. And we'll call that Tuesday meetings 1. Insert another row. And actually, I'm going to click and drag this over because I might as well make these in order. We'll call this Tuesday meetings 2. Because the other thing I have on every Tuesday is I alternate California Rental Housing Association, a legislative meeting, with an accounting team meeting. Because these are all Tuesdays, I know I can just copy and paste them all the way through. Now, that being said, periodically these meetings do get moved, so I don't know that I would necessarily want them listed on my calendar because I don't have control over the fact that, yes, for sure they're going to happen. But this is just for sake of argument that you could do this. So let's jump back over to InDesign and let's add this in. So let's come in here and update the data source. So we'll need to do that first. And you can see now in the list of things I can choose from, we now have Tuesday meetings 1 and Tuesday meetings 2. So the first thing we're going to want to do is add a text box where we want the words to be. So I know these meetings generally happen at the same time. So the first one is here. So I will drag and drop my Tuesday meetings 1 to there. Now I do want it to be in my choice of font and font size, so I will go ahead and adjust that now. And then I can make it a little bit smaller so it shows up where I want to. And I'll probably want to scooch it over so it's not right up against the edge. And now that I have that set, I'm just going to copy and paste it. And I will drag this here. And then what I can do is just click and drag Tuesday meetings 2 right over it. So now they match. And if I click on preview, you can see that the information goes ahead and drops in for me. Now again, I mentioned that Excel file is the key. So if I know, for example, I'm not going to have a legislative meeting on this week, if I delete it, save the file, come back over to InDesign, update the data source, click on preview again, you'll see that that CalRHA Ledge meeting disappeared. The placeholder's still there, but there's nothing to fill in, so it will be blank. So the preview is super helpful to make sure things are showing up as you want them to. So that's how you can add additional information. I will not be putting the InDesign file out where you can get it. Mainly the reason for that is because this is my version of inserts that were created by the planner spot, and because they are so close to hers, I don't want to be distributing her information. This video, as you can probably tell, and I mentioned this at the beginning of the video, it's made for somebody who has experience with InDesign and has experience with Excel. I haven't gone into how to design things, how to move things around. This is purely information about exactly how to get a multi-page template file in InDesign to get iterating information in it from an Excel file, because that's what's been missing. Normally, you have the Excel file that looks a lot like this one. This is what you see online in all of the tutorials that I looked at, and this is not how it needs to be formatted to get what we want. If you have a single page that you want to be exactly the same for every single day of the week, this will work. If you want to do a week at a time and have control over the different information that goes into it, your file will need to look a lot more like this one. Okay, so now that we have our Excel file set up, you've dragged and dropped your information into InDesign. Let me show you really quick how to generate the file that has all of the information. So again, we're still in this data merge window. You're going to click on these little lines, go to create merge document, and it'll ask you what range. We're going to want to do all records. You're going to want a single record because otherwise it's doing multiple records per page, and that's not what we have. If you're doing some sort of a catalog layout where you wanted to have like 3 or 4 of the same items per page, that's when you would use that. But we have a single record per page. And pretty much you shouldn't need to change anything else. We'll just click on OK, and it will automatically generate a new document for us. And then now we can scroll through and look at everything. So we have week 1, we have January 1st, New Year's Day, Tuesday and Wednesday. You can see that the dates are as we want them to be. It'll have a last page, and then it will start over again. So you can see pages 1 through 10 are exactly how we wanted them, and then it starts a new section, pages 11 through 20. Now, when you're getting ready to print these, you're not going to want this to start exactly over again. So you have to get these together so that you have immediately starting the next section. The best way I've found to get it to do that is to just go ahead and drag and drop this first page kind of in front of the first page after the break in front of the other one, and then you'll have to move it back so that they're in order. And then it should actually go ahead and adjust all the other pages down. There is a setting that allow document pages to shuffle. You'll want to make sure that's checked. If it is not, then you'll have to do each one of them individually, each one of those breaks. But go ahead and leave that checked and it will adjust everything all the way down to the bottom. Now, because it's 130 pages to do just the first quarter, that's why I do a quarter at a time. If you wanted, you could do a month at a time. I may still go back and do that, just because sometimes things may change as I go through from month to month, where I may want to include something automatically from week to week. But initially, just to try and get this started off with, I did it 1 month at a time. Keep in mind, you could also do it a month at a time, and then if you come back here, we went back to create merge document. You can give it a range. So if we come over to Excel, we see that the first month we want is, and let's say we want to go all the way through the end. So we want rows 2 to 6. So we can come in here and tell it we want rows 2 to 6. Click OK. And now you'll see, actually no, we didn't want rows 2 to 6. Because the thing to keep in mind is even though this is row 2, it's not counting this first row, which has all the headers, as the first row. So we're going to want to do rows 1, 2, 5. This being row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Told you this is all trial and error. You think I'm an expert at this? I'm not. I look at it. Did it do what I wanted? Nope, let's fix it. So rows 1 to 5. Click OK. And now starts off week 1. And it just goes through basically the end of January, first week of February. And again, what I mentioned before, you're going to want to drag this over here. It's going to be in the wrong order. You just flip-flop the pages again, and now you're back in business, and it's readjusted everything to the end. So the other thing I wanted to show you before we're done is that I actually did use the master pages to set this up. It does make it a lot easier because you don't have to copy and paste everything from day to day, or you can basically just set one and forget it. So this page here is you can tell it's B master, which has the box all the way around the edge. So I don't have to copy and paste that to every single page. I just put it on the master pages. Then I can come to the page, apply master, and tell it I want it to be B. Click OK, and B is applied. Same thing, you can select 2 pages, tell it what master you want it to have, A master to pages 2 to 3. So that's how you can, actually the A master doesn't have anything on it. So I actually set these up as master, the D master, which sounds funny. All right, so I can actually come in here and delete all of that because if I make any changes to the master page, I want it to be here as well. So I am going to delete everything. Whoops, not that. Sometimes it's hard to select these things. There we go. So I just want to leave those because that's the only thing that's changing. So I can come in here, apply master to pages. Should be the D master. Click on OK and it pulls everything in. So if I make a change to the master pages, it will apply to here as well. So this is actually the merge document. So that tells me in my original document that these pages need to be fixed. So let's come back to the original document, delete it. Because if I did it on the merged document, I'm going to have to do it every single time those appear. All right, so let's come back, apply master to pages. click OK. So now you'll see it has the D in the corners, so that tells me the D master has been applied. So hopefully that tells you a little bit how I've used the master pages. I'm actually working on creating personal sized pages that include the same information as the momentum planner, so I can kind of get everything in one spot. So I'm really using the masters there because I have a weekly version of pages, I have a daily version of pages, and with the tip-ins that I have, I actually put those in as a separate document. Let me see if I can find. So for example, I have the menu planning tip in. Now there's 16 of them because that would allow me to print essentially 2 months at one time. You could just do one page or one spread and it would, and just print several copies of it. This is just how I chose to do it. With the tip-ins, I basically just fold and glue them in. So that is how I get these to work. So tip-ins I find are easier to do as a separate file, and then all of the pages where you want it to iterate through, then you would make that its own file. Now I could, if I wanted to, add the data file to this as well and do a merge. If I, instead of saying this week's menu, I could put menu for and then include the week dates. I could do that, but then for me, it's not necessary. It's attached to a week already. I'm folding it out, I can see where it is. And then I also have to be careful about which week I'm attaching these pages to. So if I screw something up, it's not like I can just pull it out and reattach a new one. I have to print a specific page. So for me, because it's not as important that this has date information on it, that's why I didn't merge the dates from that Excel spreadsheet in here. Again, that's up to you, depending on how you want to handle it. So hopefully this information was helpful to you. I know it's a lot of information, as I mentioned. I didn't go into how I designed things in InDesign. For me, it was more about how the Excel file works. That's the important part that I did not see anywhere else online. Again, most of the tutorials where I have a single page that I want to take and generate a new date on each single page, but because I have a specific layout I want for each week, I needed something that allowed me to do a week at a time that got filled in with information before it generated a new week. So hopefully this video was helpful. I really wanted to make sure that you understood the importance of the Excel file and how that's actually the key to getting this to work properly. If you have any questions, please feel free to enter them in the comments below. I am not an InDesign expert by any stretch of the imagination. Most of what I do is trial and error. So I don't know that I would be the right person to ask for InDesign help. I have a very basic knowledge of how things are laid out. Most of that comes from the fact that I was in yearbook and we did a lot of our layouts in, gosh, I think it was Quark Express, which was quite a long time ago. That was back in high school and a little bit into college. So again, I have the bare basics of information, just enough to kind of get me by, and I do a lot of trial and error. And that's, I think, probably my key tip for you is if something isn't working right, just play with it. See if you can get something to work. I mean, these are files. If you get something exactly how you want it, you're afraid of messing it up, save a copy and then play with it. See if you can get it to work. Don't be afraid of messing something up. That's what the undo button is for, and I use it liberally. So again, I am going to go ahead and upload the Excel file. I'll put a link in the description box below so that you can download it and have the basic file format to play with. Just as a quick sneak peek, I'm actually working on something for work that gives me some times. Today's projects, supporting tasks, emergent tasks. This is something I'm kind of playing with, so I have work planner pages. I know before I said I was using the Cocoa Daisy inserts, but I think I want something a little more structured than that and something that has specific areas. So I'm just kind of playing with it right now. I haven't quite figured out if this is exactly what I want, if it'll be enough room, but it's a starting point and I'm playing with it. So I appreciate you watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments box below, and go ahead and subscribe to my channel because I have more videos like this coming, including a whole series on functional planning for work that will include some of the information about what I'm doing with these work inserts. See you next time.